It's like getting stabbed every day. You'd be like, oh, I got stabbed. Yeah, I forgive you. It's like forgiveness. You have to practice forgiveness. I was like, but you're getting stabbed every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Kingdom Chaos. My name is Troy, and I have two guests today, and I'm super excited about this particular episode. My wife, Amy, is with me. So, hey, Amy, how you doing?
Hey, everyone.
All right. And so, and then we have Dalin with us today. So welcome, Dalin. So happy that you're here to join us.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
So if you don't know, we're not going to talk about everything that we talked about in episode 20. I definitely, if you haven't listened to that one, you need to stop this one because there's going to be a lot of gaps in the conversation. You're not going to understand what's going on. This is definitely part 2. So go and listen to episode 20 first and hear what Sean has to say. Sean is Dalin's husband, and so we want to hear from your perspective on what's going on in y'all's life and y'all's story and what God is writing through you guys right now. And so before we get started, though, I want to hear from you and who you were 3 years from now, or 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, before everything that we're about to discuss. Who was Dalin back then? What was your life like?
Yeah, you know, it's funny you'd ask that because Sean's mentioned this before, that he would say that I feel like the Lord has prepared me for this season. And like, and I do, I feel that. I feel that he has uniquely prepared me in this season to where I could feel that in the midst of sitting next to somebody that is lacking so much, that I could actually be here and feel like I'm lacking very little, like I'm lacking nothing. Like I feel that. And so 5 years ago, that wouldn't have to mean, though, like I didn't wait for this season to have a partnership with the Lord. And so I wasn't waiting for this season here to be like, I need a partnership with the Lord. Like I'm in this season in a deep partnership. So if I were to look back 5 years ago, or even probably at the point of adoption of our daughter, that is probably the turning point of needing a much deeper partnership with the Lord.
Okay.
Like I would not say seasons of suffering. There'd be moments of suffering, moments of lacking, and moments of feeling like a little bit like, hey, no one's coming for you. As a mom, as a working mom, as a trying to figure it out, trying to homeschool a teenager, that I'm also trying to figure out how to be her mom. And so like there was really hard moments in there where it's just me and the Lord. Like, hey, me telling him like, hey, my burden is not easy, my yoke is not light.
Yeah.
Like, and me just saying that. Yeah. And me not even hearing him back saying like, well, my burden is easy, my yoke is light, take it upon you. Me literally just being like, hey, my yoke is not easy, my burden is not light.
So when you say that, do you mean like, did it feel silent in those times? Like it's just a one-way conversation, or did you feel his presence, hear his voice, you know?
Yeah, I in those moments, and then even after that of like her moving out and then having another child and figuring out that was my second biological child to have. So you go back through healing from having a child. You go back through, I went back through working as a mom with a little baby. And so like all these little moments of even saying that, like that phrase lasted many, many years. And I would say that the Lord constantly met me where I was. But I just feel like I felt welcomed to come to him with those things. Like I felt like a welcomed father, like of like, hey, you're welcome to tell me that. Yeah. Like tell me where you're struggling. It like I didn't need the Lord as a coach. I didn't need him to coach me in like, well, you know what you do with that? Like he'd just be like, tell me about it. Yeah. Like tell me your yoke isn't easy. Tell me your burden isn't light.
So he just then invited you to be honest with him.
Yeah, right. I felt him at the kitchen sink, me being that, washing the dishes, and being like, man, man, my this is hard. Yeah. Or crying while you're washing your face because nobody's looking. Yeah. It's hard for me to be emotionally supported by others. I didn't grow up that way. So I default to moments of being kind of in those moments, in that wrestle, and by myself, but feeling the Lord there in those moments. Not to say I don't have people to support me, but in those really, really deep moments, the Lord just being like, hey, I've got you. Like you're invited to tell me that.
So I didn't intend for the conversation to go this way, but
sorry.
No, you're good. So let's say 5 years ago, but we met you as a worship leader. So you've had a relationship with the Lord for quite a while, right? So 5 years ago, was there a change, a deepening in your relationship from previous? So explain.
Or when did you adopt your daughter? How far back?
So I was 30 when we adopted her, or I guess almost 30. Yeah, I was 30. I turned 30 because Talon was 2.5 at the time.
Okay.
And I would say that's when really a drastic change in my faith, because I got to see kind of a visual representation of our walk with God through my daughter. As in, I got to see how the Lord pursues and he chooses us really at every stage of our life. Every stage of our life, he is ready for that partnership with us, and he is pursuing us, and he is even blessing us in moments where we are not pursuing him. We are running from him and partaking in blessing, and then, like all these things. And I was like, man, I saw a reflection of my story in actual somebody with skin on him that I was learning about. And I was like, I drastically changed how I saw God as our Father, God as our pursuer, and how I saw myself. And so that is when I think I started to feel invited by him, because I also wanted her to feel invited to come to me. And so I started to feel like, man, there's somebody who, like, I've been adopted into this family. I've been adopted by the Lord as his child. And he wants to invite me into conversation and relationship with him and be like, hey, this is all of me. And that's exactly what I'm asking this girl who has not known me for 17 years of her life. That's what I'm asking her to do, and hoping she does it. And so me kind of being like, man, I hope she does it. Like, I'm ready. Like, I'm so ready. And just being like, I want her to love me as her mom, and I want to be there and be present for her. And so that's when I got to feel the Lord doing that for me in those moments.
So this kind of started the preparation to where you're at kind of now with your relationship. And I think that's so important, because I think people come to a point in their lives where they lose a child, or they some kind of a real deep, difficult situation, and they hadn't prepared for it. They think they have a relationship with God, and maybe in some level they do, but then it really gets tested in some moments like that. And I think a preparation of, I need to make sure I do have a quiet time, and quiet time meaning I really need to engage with God and really pray and read his word, and allow him to start to change me, and invite and be there and present with him, as well as him meet you where you're at. So I think that's so important. That's so good. Got a question for you here, as far as I believe you're a problem solver. Would you say you're a problem solver?
Yeah, I'm not futuristic. That's I'm not. Sean's very futuristic, like looking 5-10 years down the road. I'm not. I'm curious about the future, but I'm very in the grit of the day. I'm like, what does the day look like? What does the day need of me? And that's really, I will give all of that for then. So if it is something problem solving for the day, yes, like I'm going to exhaust all efforts. I'm not a fixer. So I wouldn't say I'm like, I would say I would want to solve, like, for Sean's health.
Right. And
want to solve that problem. Like,
So looking at that, I mean, even day to day, not being able to solve that, being able to go to God in prayer for sure, but there's nothing you can really do at the moment to do anything. How do you balance that? How do you work with that within yourself?
Yeah, I had to process a lot with, like, when Sean, like, I would say the first 6 months of him being sick, I had to, again, come to the Lord, and just like these these unspoken struggles. Like, I've been struggling with him for a long time, I felt like, of like these thought process that needed to be worked out in this. And so my brother died when he was 3. So learning the unfairness of early death was something I learned very early on. I was 17 at the time. So I even found like a old paper I'd written talking about, like, being a 17-year-old and saying, hey, you can live out these certain rule sets. You can be a good person, but there is just unfairness in this world where people just die early, and that's something that we just have to approach. Like, we can't look away from that. And so like having to learn that early on that's been greatly impactful. Openly with you, I felt very accountable for my brother's death in some ways. So my brother was immune compromised whenever he died. I was sick before he died. And so I felt somewhat blamed, but also even responsible. Like maybe I am responsible. Like maybe I did.
Right.
Maybe he did get sick as his final month of life, and because of me. And so I say that to say, I think in the first 6 months, I felt like I was trying to repair the fact that I felt somewhat responsible for my brother's like rapid decline at the end. So therefore I felt responsible for making sure Sean turned around. And so I felt like I'm made a binder. Like I'm making a binder of every after visit summary. Like I'm exhausting all efforts financially. Like I'm not just treating him as like my husband who I need to solve. Like he's my husband's sick. I'm treating him as like, hey, this is somebody's child. Yeah. This is somebody's brother. This is my kid's father, and he's a husband. Like I'm considering like every layer of relationship that he holds, and feeling like I'm also accountable for his life, and accountable that he makes it. And so I think I was trying to somewhat repair that I, somewhat kind of take control maybe.
Yeah, right. So in that, have you been able to surrender since then?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I always say like we hold many things, right? So there's 1,000 sides to my story, 1,000 sides to, there's not just like, that's just one little perspective I'm holding. I'm also one of those people that holds a perspective of like, hey, we all live, we all die. Yeah. Like, hey, we all live, we all die. And people text me like, can you believe Chuck Norris died? I'm like, I'm pretty sure we all die.
Yep.
Yeah. I can actually, super believable to me. Makes sense, So I think we kind of work out somewhat a language of death in our society. I think we kind of work that out. We don't talk about it much, and so I'm a little bit of like a data girl, and the data says we all live, we all die. Right. So I hold these things that are deeply emotional, and I hold things that are deeply data based, and but really just coming to the Lord and just like being and surrendering that, and again knowing that the Lord is an artist, right? He artistically works for good everything in our life, as they happen, after they happen. And my brother's suffering and even his death has been such a reminder in this time. And he has worked that for good in this time. Like that has been the presence of that good, even though it's been almost 20 years ago, is so deeply layered in me that I feel the Lord's closeness in that, where there's such a sense of gratitude of like, I'm not in this having to learn my theology of suffering. Right. Like that's been worked out in me.
Yeah, you've walked it.
Yeah. I'm standing on firm ground here. I know we suffer. I know there's suffering. I know there are miracles. I know all these things. That's why I'm like, okay, Lord, like I can stand firm in you in this time. Yeah. No big deal. Yeah.
So in that though, obviously there's had to have been ups and downs throughout the year, right? So tell me one of the down moments, your conversations with God, one of the times within this past 12 months where it's like, in this, maybe you had surrendered already, maybe you hadn't, maybe you're trying to control things, but what are your conversations with God when it's like you're at your lowest at the moment and maybe drained emotionally from work and just overwhelming?
So I'll tell you, Sean's story of suffering actually starts before he got sick with me at a mailbox. Like the Lord, and this is like, I genuinely feel the Lord's closeness and like his love for me, that he will meet me where I am. Like he'll meet me where I am. But quite literally in April of 2025, I walked to the mailbox like I do every day to get the mail. I'm like an old person. I kind of wait for the mail. I'm like, I can't wait for that mail to come, Now the mailman brings the mail to our door, and I'm kind of like, man, like it's so nice, but I like walking to the mailbox, But I walked to the mailbox, opened the mailbox, and in there was a check, an unexpected check. Not a big amount. Like I didn't have a a prince in another country, like all the scam emails say, and wasn't a big check, but unexpected. And when I opened it, simultaneously at the same time, I heard the Lord say it's going to be a hard year. Like right as I pull that check out, it's like, it's going to be a hard year at the same time. And I actually felt, usually if you get extra money, you don't feel sad, but I actually felt a sense of sadness of like, oh man, like that felt so true in me, and kind of left it at that, didn't say anything about it. 3 weeks later, Sean got sick.
Oh, wow.
3 weeks later, that's when Sean got sick, and basically got sick to where that's when he never recovered.
Yeah.
In July, a couple months later, again, I'm working this out. Sean's been sick for a couple months. He's already lost the ability to work full time. He has a fight coming up, and I just need like a refreshment from the Lord. Like I need a refreshment. Like the moment is chaotic and tense in the house, and I need a refreshment. I open the door, and it is a beautiful sky. And the Lord says, I make beautiful things. And I just echo, like, you make beautiful things. And so now he's spoken to me twice, like audibly spoken to me twice in the midst of this. And then just 1 month later, we're sitting in a luncheon for church on generosity, which probably sounds like a terrible time for a lot of people. It was actually beautiful. Like I loved it. And it wasn't like generosity with money. Like it was stories, people giving like an organ. It was just like living a life of generosity, which is really important to me. And I actually grieved, like, will I not be able to do the things that we've done because Sean's not working full time and things like that. And so there was a moment of reflection in this luncheon, and I wasn't expecting, like, I'm not expecting the Lord. I shouldn't say that. Like, I'm like, Lord, if you want to say something, but we're generous people. So like, what is there really for us to be here? What do we have to be here? But it was like, hey, take a moment. And if there's something that the Lord wants to share with you. So I'm like, sure, whatever. If there's something you want to say to me, God, like that's fine. And in that moment, it was like, hey, the Lord told you it was going to be a hard year with a check in your hand. Like that is because like the Lord is going to provide for you. Like this is just a token of like, he's going to be faithful in this, and he's going to remember you in this. And that was really important for me, because I actually, when I opened that check and felt sadness, I had tried several times to even rebuke the thought of like, it's going to be a hard year. Like Joel Osteen's not writing books on like your worst year yet.
Right, yeah.
He's not like, nobody's going to read that book. Yeah. And so when it doesn't make sense, it doesn't logically make sense, but openly, I'm a numbers person, I'm in sales, I'm currently the provider for my family. So what has kept me up at night, mostly, you'll guess it, is probably finances. Sure. Mm-hmm. And the expense of like hunting down the fractures in Sean's body, trying to turn it around. And so like, if something's going to keep me up, it's that. And so I keep remembering like, hey, the Lord is like showing me that he's going to be faithful to me. Our pastor, Jason Shepard, said this one time. I've never forgot it. He said, like, it's us that aren't faithful. Like the Lord is always faithful. It's us that aren't faithful. And so I thought, you know what? Like we're just going to remain faithful. Even in the way that the Lord's going to show us he's going to be faithful. And anyway, so I would say that like I wrestled early before Sean got like declining, sick. And the Lord has audibly shown up for me, which is, that doesn't happen very often in your life. Yeah. And I felt such a tenderness that I'm not the sufferer. I'm the person on the other side of it. And the Lord has prepared me. Like he has shown up for me. He even forewarned me like, hey, this is going to be a hard year. And it truly was. The first year of him being sick was much harder. I say much harder, like not that it's not hard now, but it was an adjustment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot more conversations, working out death of my brother. What does this look like to be accountable for Sean's life as his wife? And so that was true. We didn't get to April 3rd and him be healed, right? Which openly was kind of like, maybe Lord, that's going to happen. Like... like Sean was like, fine when you deposited that check, maybe that day. And we're all kind of like waiting around like, okay, Lord, like, if you're real literal, but yeah, so I would say like those have been some moments, but.
So talking about that, like you talked about, you are currently the provider of the family, and Well, when Sean was on, he talked about you being the strongest person he knows and carrying the family right now. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's really kind. I mean, really kind of him to say that. I didn't grow up wanting to be like a lot of people. I wasn't exposed to really television or a lot of outside things based on how we grew up. And so Sean was one of the first people I wanted to be like. And I've genuinely have done everything he's done. Like I've just kind of have followed him well, but he's easy to follow. He walks a good path.
Yeah.
He leads a good life. The things that he does are honorable and exciting. And he does them with a lot of passion. And so I'm passionate, so I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
That's great.
That sounds great. Yeah. But I do think I don't believe in spirit animals. That would be contradictory to my belief. But I do believe we all have the same creators. If you follow me on social media, you know I love animals. Big animal lover. But I do think we have the same creator, right? And so I think the animals represent different strengths and how, like, the Lord makes us all very unique and very different. And so early on, I saw this image, and this may sound so dumb, but I saw this image of this mountain goat, and like literally just like running from steep hilltop to steep hilltop. And I'm like, you know what? Like the Lord makes us all different and unique, and He made me for this. Yeah. Like He made me for these mountaintops. Like He made me for this season. He has increased my endurance to be prepared for this, and He has given me the footing and the confidence and the strength to be able to be the right in His creation in this moment, to work out whatever it is for His glory. I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't think that's crazy at all. The Bible tells us we're sheep and we follow the shepherd. So I don't think it's crazy to have like a understanding of what does this animal do. And I feel like in this season I need to be a tiger, or I need to be a lion, or I need to be a sheep, or I need to be, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think that's great. So do you feel strong, like Sean says that he looks at? Do you feel like that strength right now for the family in that preparation?
Not to say I don't have moments where I'm like,
sure, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like, refill my vessel with oil, Lord. Like, is there a last little drop in there? Is there more in there? Yeah. So in the moment, so this is kind of the leading up, right? So April, I hear from the Lord, Sean gets sick. May's kind of a big month where he takes a step away from work. Like, this is kind of what's going on here? Like, is this really, okay, he's just going to be away for a couple months or a few months. Like, I don't know, like it just feels very surreal during that time. I read 2 books in June that very random, I read No Easy Day, which is the first account of the raid of Osama bin Laden. Classic to read during a time of suffering. My dad's military, so I'm a patriot. Have whole deep honor and respect for those that serve our country and serve locally. So I love war stories. I love hearing stories of the military, and then I read Hope Heals by Catherine and Jay Wolfe. So I read these 2 books, right? And so the first one's No Easy Day, and it's all these accounts from a Navy SEAL of these missions that they go on. And I was so inspired because I'm like, one of them, they hike out 10 miles to get to the spot, and they have to hike back out 10 miles to get to the spot. They pull off the mission, like it wasn't even like the Osama bin Laden raid. It was all these other little ones. And I thought, like, what's for me to question that the Lord has gifted this person, or, these special forces soldiers, with the skills and the strength to do this very specific job that they would have to have God-given skills for. You have to be skilled to be a heart surgeon. Like, that's an anointing from the Lord on gifts. You have to be anointed to be a special forces operator. Why would I question that He didn't also give me the gifts to be a special forces operator in my family right now? And so that's kind of how I've envisioned it. It's like, I'm a special operations officer, and I'm operating in this, and I can do that feeling strong. Like, I wouldn't want to go into a mission feeling weak, or like, maybe I'm not fit for this. So I feel like, no, the Lord has equipped me for this. He's prepared me for it. and like he has put the armor on me as over my life.
Yeah.
So I'm armored up.
Yeah.
I'm armored up.
Yeah.
So I feel strong.
That's good.
I feel armored up for this.
And I think that's the perspective we need, because it's not about, yes, I'm strong because it's my strength. I'm strong because the Lord has put me in this place. I'm strong because the Lord is within me. I'm strong because of my belief in Him. I'm strong. Everything points to God, points to Jesus. And that's the perspective we should have. And sometimes we feel like we get overwhelmed because we think, oh, I've got to do this. I've got to, check the box. There's a laundry list of stuff today that I've got to do in my own strength, instead of saying, yeah, I am strong, but it's not because of me. It's because of Him. Yeah, that's great perspective. All right, so the last question I have along these lines is, Sean said that you tell him that the suffering isn't for you, but it's on you. So explain that.
Yeah, so every night when I get in bed, I read Hebrews 12. I start off Hebrews 12, and so it talks about running your race of endurance, and then it talks about that the suffering was set on Him. It's talking about Jesus. It says, even before you open it, like Jesus, the founder, perfecter of our faith. So it says suffering was set on Him, and this is such an image of our life right now, because I'm training for an ultramarathon, 2 ultramarathons. So I'm legitimately running a race, right? And it's in representation of the race that Sean's running and his suffering. And it's an expectation that he'll be healed. I'm running these races with this expectation, but the suffering is set on him. And I think we get in this mindset where there's this choose joy kind of lingo that can be very difficult in suffering, and it never says that he chose joy. He looked to joy. The joy was set before him. He looked to it. And so I think that's why I keep thinking of hey, Jesus didn't like jolly down the road suffering as a frail, fractured body to go die. He had joy set before him. His eyes were on that joy set before him and suffering set on him. And I think because I've had the worst job in this, but the best seat, I've seen that, hey, this suffering's on you, but like there's so many miracles that have happened. He's talked about that. Right. There's so much that's happened. I get to see that more than him because my eyes are clear. I'm not in pain. I'm not malnourished. I'm not starved. I'm not lacking anything. So I get the full perspective of, honestly, this picture of the crucifixion that I've never seen before until now, to where, I think of the picture, and he talked about this when I told him, hey, Jesus didn't go to the cross looking like some warrior. He didn't go to the cross and the cross just fall over because he was so big and strong. He still had to be held up by nails. He was weak and he was frail and he almost died on the way. So much so that someone else had to be selected to carry that cross. And so I think about, why did they pick that person to carry the cross? I don't know, but there was something about the person that they picked to carry the cross. That person was told, basically, you're going to carry this cross. There's something about them that resembled somebody that could. And I don't know what that person did, but I guarantee you, as that person was carrying the cross, they thought, they had to look physically strong, to be honest. So I'm sure he thought, man, however many things I've ever carried that were heavy, it was for this moment. Yeah. And so, I've seen this image of, I've been selected, out of obedience, right? I could carry this cross for our family. And I see the suffering that Sean is walking in, and I'm still following him. Yeah. I'm still following Sean metaphorically in this, but we're both following Jesus as image bearers. Yeah. And so, I see this, right? And I see the change that it's making in our family. Yeah. Because if you go to that story, that same person that carried the cross for Jesus, there's a lot to say that later on, that man's children were part of building the church. Mm-hmm. And so it's that person, I know he felt prepared more than ever for that moment to carry the weight. And I know it changed his life forever. And so I'm we're doing, this is an image. We're just image bearers at the moment. We all are image bearers. Right. But I see it more than ever in that,
Yeah. So I love what you're talking about so far, because you kind of answered the next question, but I want to see if you have anything else to say about it, about how going through this has maybe changed or shaped the way you look at a biblical marriage. I love the way you talk about, I wanted to be like Sean, so I followed him. And that's what we should do. He should be the priestly leader of your home, and so you should follow him. But at the same time, this is a partnership. So as he has gotten weak in his body, you have picked up the slack in that in a partnership. I think that in our culture, we look at the Bible and we look at what a biblical marriage is, and we think that women are, sometimes we think that them as below, underneath, and the Bible never says that. So do you have anything else to say about a biblical marriage, walking through this in your preparation and where you're at now for a husband and a wife?
Yeah, I mean, right, like there's all these dumb shows on TV, right? Like relationship shows, and some of them will base them around kind of like marriages, trial marriages, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, you just give that person the for worser and the for sicker for a week then. Like, like you just, you give them something, like you give them that, and let's see how it goes, you know? But openly, I think Tim Keller says this, and I've kind of ridden on this for a long time. Like, marriage isn't to make you happy, it's to make you holy. And I do think, I'm a strong believer in that marriage is a reflection of the church and our relationship with the church and our relationship with how Jesus seeks to redeem the church. And so I think a lot of churches are fractured, right? And good can be done in fractured bodies. And so being a part of the mission to glorify the Lord's name and wanting to be a caretaker for the fractures and wanting to understand them and redeem them so more good can be done, like that's what we should do in our marriage to reflect the whole purpose of what marriage should reflect, which is Christ in the church. And we should do that in our churches. Yeah. And so like that is, we've got to kind of live that out in two part, but I keep saying that, like, good can be done in a fractured body. Yeah. Like, good can be done through a fractured body. We don't stop at a fractured body, but good's still being done. And so being able to be present with him in his grief and whatever he's going through, but just also remember, like, that, hey, so much good's being done through him. Yeah. And he's still, honestly, more whole than ever, even though he's more fractured than ever. Yeah. And so if he leans into being more holy till the day he dies and more fractured, I will, I'm here to be faithful to that.
Yeah, and I think he kind of mentioned, maybe not in all these words, but the way he spoke is he's more of a man now than he was before, even though physically, like, he was an MMA fighter, a SWAT, I mean, like, just all these things, but the way he walks with God now, in suffering is a bit different than what he did in the past, and that's just a growth process, and spiritually, and so how do you parent your children right now, especially maybe focused on their spiritual growth in this, and relying on God and seeing what's going on in your family?
Well, they're all different, right? So I have a 9, 24-year-old, and 4-year-old. Yeah. That's their home order, not birth order. But we got to honor home. When you came home, when you walk through those doors, is your birth order. So Naya, she's 24, but she's number 2. She's the second. But they all need something different, like openly, Talon, 9-year-old, he's had his dad the longest. Naya, she's 24. She's desired to have a dad her whole life. And this is her first time in 7 years having a dad. For the last 7 years, she's had a dad. And then Valor is, just coming out of toddlerhood and is like a little kid for the first time. And her questions are different. I think that I'm one of 11 kids. So, there's practicality to that, right? You can't hold space for all 11 kids all the time. But I have the gift of having 3. And so I think holding space for their grief and their questions is what I want. And so we have questions that I ask them questions depending on how things are going. usually every couple of weeks, I'll say, hey, Talon, how you doing with daddy being sick? And he'll be like, medium, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Just asking him open questions like, what's your biggest fear in this? And he's like, that daddy would die. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what happens when daddy dies? Like, I'm just trying to walk out. I don't want to be in the same way the Lord has just welcomed me and invited me.
Yeah.
I want to invite them. Like, tell me where your yoke is easy and where your burden isn't light. Yeah. Is it that I think that would be a heavy yoke, Talon, to live a life without your dad. Like, I'm not taking that from you. What do you think eternity's like? And making sure, like, I'm building their theology of an eternal mindset and worldly suffering and the presence of miracles. Like, I have to hold space for all of that. Like, I think the grieving with hope is in the anticipatory grief and later grief, but they need that now. And so asking those questions and just helping them kind of understand, holding space for them and just being like, hey, where are you at with this?
Yeah. I want to circle back to something, just what we've talked about, and your strength in parenting, and who takes care of Dalin? Like, who do you lean, other than God? Obviously, that's number one. But is there somebody in your life where you turn to talk to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This has been tricky. This has been tricky. This is not the easier side of it, because it is hard. I do think that for some people, supporting Sean is primary, right? And so maybe if I have shared something that's really deep going on, like I'm really wrestling with, then and I've gotten silence in return from that, they've actually feel like, now I'm informed. Now I know how to support Sean next time. And so there has been some moments of feeling a little bit like no one's coming for you. Yeah. I do have 3 sisters, so I will say that we're all really close. So I'm grateful for with 11 kids, like, you build a network with your siblings. Like, I have a network with my siblings that I can pull from, right? Like, I can pull from for support. And so my sisters are great, and a few key relationships, but not many, not many. And I don't mind that. Again, I didn't grow up really, I just have never really, I've kind of been an independent person, but I need community. We have community, right? But to the really big wrestles, like, I really just need a few walking close with me to be in that. And, but again, I'm not going to say it. The Lord is really, really near to me and usually meets me before I meet him.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your church community been? How's that walking through this? I know Sean had mentioned it a few times, but how's that been, walking through this with them?
Good. I mean, that's been great. I mean, I don't think people make it well through suffering without biblical church community. I don't think they would make it well. And I don't think marriages make it well. I don't think any type of suffering. I don't care what it is. But to have this level of support and love from them has been just like something I'll cherish forever. Yeah. Like, I feel as loyal to our church as I do my marriage. I mean, like, I hold them in such a way of like, hey, I'm committed to you for life. They have held us up. That whole vision of, breaking in the roof and the man lowering. I'm like, that's not what we have. Like, we have people that are actually like parting the way, opening the door, running faster with endurance before us to go be like Jesus over here. Or can you give me the gift today that I have the touch of healing? Like, what if that, like, I won't even tell anybody, like, if that could heal Sean. Yeah. Like, there's people that are just like, hey, constantly asking for miracles, constantly asking for healing, and involving our kids in that. And that's what they're seeing, and so they're coming to our home to do that. And so that's really special.
Yeah. So if somebody else would be going through a difficult time, another wife, how would you, I guess this is maybe even a 2-part question, but what would you tell them if they're going through something, but maybe they're not going through something yet, but we all go through something eventually? What would you tell them to prepare?
Yeah, I think all the writings from James, Peter, Paul, right? They all talk about suffering, and they all mention it, right? And that's because the climate that the people they're writing to, they're living in, like they know that they're under a rule that is going to delight in their suffering. And so suffering's not because you're a follower. They're speaking to, hey, you're going to suffer because the government over you is going to delight in you suffering. And so we will all likely suffer due to brokenness similarly. But I won't get on any of those tangents for this. But I had a conversation with a wife that her husband's been sick for a month just a couple weeks ago. And again, I think encouraging her to be like, hey, your husband's suffering, and the whole image of like, hey, of Jesus being broken and frail. And then just telling her like, hey, you're a special forces operator. Like the Lord did not put you on this mission because you're weak. He has put on every little piece of armor and seasons of your life. Otherwise, if you put the whole thing on, it'd be too heavy. But you've built the strength. Like you've put in the time to be able to carry each piece of armor. You're fully clothed. Like you are fit enough. Like you are fit in a way to being called to carry this cross. You're prepared for this, and you were chosen out of obedience for a good reason. Yeah. And so just encouraging them of like, you're not weak in this. Like you are, like the Lord is here with you, and you're strong. Yeah. Like you're fit for this.
Yeah. And this might go on to the same thing. It might be the same exact answer. I don't know. But if you sat with Dalin 3 years ago, knowing what you know now, what you're going through with your family, is there any piece of advice that you would give yourself, or anything that you would say, any kind of encouragement, or what would it be?
Yeah, I mentioned I read that book, Hope Heals, and maybe I would have read it sooner. It probably came at the right time. It's really interesting, right? Like Catherine has an aneurysm when she's 26. They have a 6-month-old baby. But the book is written from her perspective and her husband's. And so you have the sufferer and then the person that has to keep life going as a parent, financially, as a caregiver. And so it gave me a space to hold space for myself, and to also be like, hey, there's real, because it honestly is hard sometimes. Like I'm not in pain. Yeah. And if I am, I take ibuprofen. Yeah. You know, like I'm just like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen away from being painless anytime I want. So but to feel that there is space for that, and there is weight in that, is, I think, would be something that would encourage me to not invalidate my role. That would be important. Yeah. Okay.
The last question I have before I'll eventually ask you if you have anything you want to add, but what's the hardest thing going through this season of life? You mentioned finances, and that kind of keeps you up a little bit, right? But just, is there anything else that might be like, man, this is just the hardest to watch or to walk through? What would it be?
Finances are, honestly, they're hard, but they're easy, right? Because, as soon as they're relieved, right? They can kind of pulse. So that does go away eventually. I think the hardest part is facing your spouse's fears or witnessing them come true. Yeah. I think for Sean to have a stated fear of being like, I feel like I'm just going to waste away in front of my kids. And me actually being the only one. I always say this, like, people will throw stuff at me all the time, and I say, nobody lives in my reality more than me. Like, nobody sees him starved with his, getting ready for bed with most of his clothes off. Like, nobody sees the level of malnourishment that I see. Like, nobody sees the vulnerability emotionally that I see. So openly, it'd just be like if your child was scared of, like, burning in like their house catching on fire, and their house caught on fire, and the house caught on fire, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that was their fear became the reality. I think that is something that it brings real grief to see their biggest fear happen. And it, I ask the Lord sometimes, like, remind me of his suffering. Like, don't take, like, keep it real to me, and that keeps it real to me, so that I'm never like just like, oh, I'm so strong working through the seasons. Like, oh no, this is so tough. Like I'm strong, but I'm in a war. Right. Like I'm battling. But openly, I told this to Sean just a couple of days ago. I'm like, hey, he has to wake up and do it again every day. And it's a practice of like being in the suffering. I said, if you got stabbed once, it's like getting stabbed every day. You'd be like, oh, I got stabbed. Yeah, I forgive you. It's like forgiveness. You have to practice forgiveness. I was like, but you're getting stabbed every day. And those wounds are increasing. That pain is increasing. But also you're having to increase the practice of, surrender and just being like, okay, Lord, like, what are we doing with this? Yeah. And so, that's hard. Yeah. It's hard witnessing your spouse decline, slow loss.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that we haven't gone over that you want, maybe you came in, man, I really want to tell people this, or is there anything on your heart that you might want to, let people know?
No, honestly, I really have reserved these conversations mostly for Sean, because I think to be sanctified in suffering is not something people choose. Mm-hmm. People don't choose that. I didn't choose it when my brother died when I was 17. I chose the suffering as my sanctification, which it wasn't, because I constantly looked for ways out of my grief. I'm 17, So, but to witness him choose sanctification through his suffering, I honor that, and I want these seats really to be reserved for him, because I think that it's special, it's sacred, it's sacred, right? And so I'm grateful to get to share whatever the work of it, the toil of it looks like, but openly, I'm still uphold him even in this season. I want to hear from him more.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't tell you how honored we are that you both came and shared, not just because it's this podcast, but for people that are going through whatever they're going through, that they need to hear hope, and you're pointing toward hope, who is Jesus. And in that preparation, in the season that you're going through, because not everybody has the courage while you're going through it to talk about it. It's one thing to go through it and look back and say, oh, I can see God work. I can see what he did. I can see all. But as you're going through something that you're going through, it's not easy to come and share while you're suffering. So I guess
the last thing I would, like, on that note, is I would say, like, for people that are going through it, anticipatory grief is not a lack of faith. Anticipatory grief is not the presence of doubt. Anticipatory grief is a human biological process that we go through as human people. And so I think some people may tie anticipatory grief to spiritual aspects, and sure, they can be some things that you hold at the same time. But for people that feel some things that feel like grief while your spouse is still living, I encourage, and I told this lady that, like, hey, I want you to just look into what anticipatory grief looks like. Tell AI, this is what my spouse has. I think I have anticipatory grief. Help me lay this out. And it just brings, like, hey, the Lord designed me like this to feel as a human, very human things. And this is not a separation from him. This is not a lack of faith. This is just how he created me as a human to anticipate. I see that in my 4-year-old, who has an innocent faith, innocent belief in God. She goes through it. So it's like, this is just who we are. Right. And the Lord is, again, just that Father present with us at the sink, on a walk, on a run, of like, I'm here, I'm present with you in your anticipatory grief.
Yeah, so that's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no.
So last thing, would you mind praying for, honestly, for just for people that are suffering, that they turn to the Lord. If they're not, that they turn to him. If they are, that they are strengthened by it, through it. That, like you said, you were built for a time such as this. So if you don't mind doing that.
Absolutely. So. Oh, Father, Lord, like it says to cast our cares on you, because you care for us. Because your yoke is easy, your burden is light. So much you would just trade. You would trade our space, not only on the cross, but in whatever we're carrying for the day. Lord, and for these people that are in places of suffering or caregiving, Lord, the road that they're walking is not a road you haven't walked. You have walked that road, broken, frail, fractured, and the weight that they carried. You know, and you created the person that also carried the cross behind you. And at some point, that person carrying that cross realized, this isn't Jesus of Nazareth's cross. This is my cross. So, Lord, there's so much of a reflection in suffering and caregiving that is to make your name great. So I just pray that in the matter of how you use miracles, which I hope you do, I hope you layer in thousands of miracles through one suffering. You do that, Lord. But and however you layer in suffering, Lord, that it just be to increase the faith of many. It be for an eternal purpose, an eternal mindset, but also that it have earthly proof. Just like you did when you walked on the earth, you had earthly proof that you were the Son of God. You touched people to heal them, Lord. So that through the suffering, through the miracles, there be earthly proof in 2026, right now. Like, man, he didn't just live back then. He is alive today, seated next to the throne of God. And that, Lord, you are working in this today. You're working this through these people's lives, that they would feel encouraged and they would feel like this special mission that they are on. You are leading the way. You are with them in this, and they are not alone. And they are strong in you, through you, and because of you. Yep. So thank you for these things, and thank you that we can just put everything in your hands. No matter how many things we hold, you can hold what's in our hands. So we love you. It's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.